Okay. I have been working on the design for the dressing table. I'm trying to figure out how to get the lighting here so it's not so bad. And this was my first attempt that I showed you earlier, and this was, these are the little drawers that I ended up making. And they aren't perfect, and I've got some ideas for how I want to change some things around. As always, I always have ideas for changing things around. I've been working on the second one, and it's a little different. You can tell I've added a little bit extra. If you look at this one, because remember I needed about 2 to 3 more millimeters on this side. So I'm just testing it out, and I made it just a skosh bigger. I gave myself some breathing room. And I also lowered the mirror down. These lines are just in here to help me know where to place things. And these two areas on the outside, this one and this one, are where the cabinets go. I just call these the little side cabinets. And I wanted to show you what the insides of these looked like. This is the unfinished form. And you can kind of tell, put that down right there. This is the inside, and you can tell, if I can get my hand up there, this outside line is where the drawer fronts will go. That's how big they will be. I've got the feet drawn in. I've still got this here because I know I want that there. And I need this line in here for the middle portion, so I can gauge how big I want the middle portion. And you can see here, I've got actually 4 of them for holding everything together. This top one, you can see here, and you can kind of see it's the brown with the paper around it. I have over here a smaller piece of it. If I can get everything to focus here. It's 2 pieces of carton board. I think these are pizza boxes that I glued them facing in, and then put the white paper on the outside. Now the reason why I put the white paper on the outside, twofold. When I write notes on this, I need to be able to see it. Number 2, the glue attaches way better and way faster. I've been using a thinned tacky glue, which bonds with this paper, bonds within maybe 3 count. So I don't have tons of time to move stuff around, but once it's bonded, it's bonded. It's not going anywhere, because this is an unpolished paper. It's just natural. So you can see here where that's the beginning of the curve. It's about, I want to say it's about 7 to 8 millimeters, depending. And I'm still working that out, like where I should cut that off. However, I think I figured out a workaround. Mostly because when I glue things, when things are glued to the support board, there's sometimes too much stuff there. Too much with the tabs, that sometimes the tabs need to be cut off. So I think I'm going to leave that as an option. So in other words, once in the pattern, once you wrap that around and glue it down, it's done. So you can see what this looks like all together. And then within this space here, within that space there, if I wanted to, I could put something inside of it, but for right now, I think it's holding well, and I don't need to put anything else in it. So this is what it looks like here, and then if I just fold these in, because remember in the other one they were too big, I think I might even trim these down even further. Oh, sorry, itchy eye. This is where they're glued, and now you can see why I have some of this extra here. Before gluing anything down, I'll dry fit it and then draw a line and then cut it off. So I also made 2 different versions of the middle section, And you can see in this one, it's really kind of big. And in this one, I didn't quite, I still think I could get a drawer in there. I still may do another version because you guys know me. This one might be a little too big. And then that, of course, then would make this one gargantuan. But I'm not, the thing is, I'm not really mad at it. I just think I think this one's too big. But I wanted to be able to have it to actually reference. So there would be that part. And then this part. And I really wanted it to match up more with that line. So I might, if I did this, I think that would work. I like that. So I have a feeling it's either going to be this one or I'm going to make a combination. I'm going to probably end up making a third one with the smaller, see if I can get the drawer in there. If I can do a drawer in some of these really super small things, I think I can manage that one. But that's kind of where I am right now. Now, that all being put aside, I have the other side that I haven't glued together. And here we go. I'm going to tip down so you can see this a little bit better. And here, you can see what these look like. Now, the one thing I've been really kind of impressed with watering down the tacky glue, because I am using regular tacky glue and this watered tacky glue. I'm using the watered tacky glue to glue down anything that is this board. You can see it's about 2 millimeters. I like this better than the 3 millimeter gray board. It stays put, it's glued in, it's not warping. But you can see this piece right here, I've already glued another piece of paper to. Now the reason I did that is this paper takes a curl really, really nicely. And when I glue them together like this, what I do is I'll put the glue in on the paper, glue it in, and then I use, I think I showed you the last time, I use this is just a pen, and I hold it around it. Doesn't take longer than a few seconds. And then what I think is interesting is I then need to, once that curl is there, then I need to kind of work my way up and flatten everything out, and then it'll hold. Otherwise it kind of feels like it's got bubbles in it. So then what happens, each of these sides gets glued in, and I wanted to show you how I did that. These are all of the little pieces. These are this is the bottom. These are the two larger pieces that will go here and here, here and here. This is the smaller piece. I put the arrow on it so I know that this is the side that goes this way, towards the outside. But I wanted to show you how I glued this in. Now, in one of the versions, I think it's not that one. I think it was this one. Yeah. Okay. Let's look really super close here. You can see right here, this edge isn't done very well. Part of the reason for that is because I somehow got it in my brain that I was going to use a 2-ply veneered piece of paper. This is 2-ply. This is just the white paper that I just took. I put glue on one side of a regular piece of paper, folded it over, and glued it down, and then trimmed it up. So it's a little bit more like tag board weight at this point. And this is double thickness because you can see those two there. I thought for some stupid reason I would put that up here and it would hold this curve better. And you can, I don't know if you can kind of tell. You can tell there's a little. I didn't go all the way to the edge. It's about 2 millimeters. Almost the same as this board that I cut. So the idea is that then this goes in and gets glued down. And you can see this follows the curve nicely. And then there's the carton board there to hold it down. And I tried the 2 layers in there and it was just too bulky. So this should work better, plus going 2 millimeters in should be better. Now when I'm working on this, I just used little bits of scrap board to do this. I'm trying really hard not to put glue on my hands because it really does irritate my hand. So I've got my little thing here, and what I'm going to do is fold this back and dab it in. Now you're probably saying, why don't you just use the watery kind, the one that you've watered? I like having, especially with these curves, I want to know without a shadow of a doubt that when I put this down, when I glue this in place, it is not going to move once it's dried. Switch this around a little bit. I like to be able to see where I'm going. And I just smear it in here, and you can see I've left 2 millimeters along here. Okay, so the next step that has to be done, this gets glued down. I grab a little bit more of the glue, wipe that on there, and then what happens, this so reminds me of an origami move. I have to hold it in place, get that curve in. So that's, I like to do this when this is drier because the dry curve will just take that. And then I can go in and pinch this down and make sure that that seam matches up. And if you work with tacky glue, you know once you put that down, it's pretty much there. And then I try to straighten things up. Now, I'm going to do the same thing again over here. Just going to come in here. And this seems like an awful lot of work for this piece. Let me move this around a little bit. An awful lot of work for it's like, why don't I just build it out of regular board? Because then I have to paint it, and I have to do a bunch of redesigns. And there's something about this where I can quickly, I think it's satisfying several different parts of my creativity, most notably my laziness. Okay, let's fold that down, give it a little press, which means if this were all printed and I was working from a finished file, I could probably make, 5 of these a day. Get that out of the way. And then come in and make sure that gets pressed in. Run my finger along it. Press it down from the inside. Sometimes I'll flip it around like that. Give it a little press. And then at this point, I'm bending these backwards so I can kind of get at the inside a little easier. This seems like kind of a strange way to build furniture, but the outside is completely done. I can't stress to you. It's like, okay, this tab goes here, this tab goes here, and then it's completely done. Now, this bottom piece may need to be trimmed a bit. I think it will. As I cut these from the... Is that the bottom piece? Is that the bottom piece? Yeah, that's the bottom piece. Okay. Let's move that in. Nope, I don't think it needs to be trimmed. Well, yeah, it does need to be trimmed. And the way I trim these is I simply look at how big something is and then trim it down. So for this one, I'm just going to hold this, put this here, and where that mark hits, or that little corner is, I'm just going to mark it. And get my little knife. It's too much. Yeah, I'm just Martin freaking Scorsese with this, aren't I? Okay. And then bring this in. I want it to fit tightly, but I don't want it to stretch things out, which is something I noticed on some of the beginning pieces. I had pushed things in so hard, it was stretching out. I had pushed out the paper. Okay, and then I make sure that looking this way, that if I fold these in, they're not going to bulge or anything. Now, it may sound strange after using this glue for all of that top part, then I'm just going to go ahead and use the watered glue for this, because I kind of wanted you to see this. I like that it's got a nice long, I can see where I'm going with the glue. Like this is, you know, basically just for precision. It does come out a little bit more liquidy than I would like, but I can let it go. In a couple of days, it's gonna start to get a little thickened up. So I put it right on the bottom edges of all of that, and now I can just come in here and, come on, sweet cheeks, there you go. Pop it into place and make sure that all of my seams meet around the bottom. And another thing I like about this is I can kind of just take the little nozzle here and just kind of smooth things out a little bit. So now that's all glued together, and I can continue working on gluing the other pieces in. This next piece, and again, you always have to test, and it's like, this is a little tight, because you know, and I've talked about this a lot, that I don't want my pieces to look exactly the same. They may use the same pattern. Okay, and that should fit right there. I think that should work. I don't want them to be exactly the same, because I think things that look exactly the same, especially this sort of work, I don't like it. It doesn't look good. It does that uncanny valley thing where it's like, I don't like this. It doesn't look natural. I'm trying so hard not to use my fingers to smear the glue around. Okay, I want to go in there and make sure it's even. Yeah, this stuff catches so fast. Give it a good press. And then that's that top part. And you can see in here that I didn't go, the curve is still kind of free floating. I suppose if I wanted to, I could put a third piece of paper on that and really get it like, you know, super strong. But I don't think so. I think for the use that it's gonna, what I'm gonna be using it for, I don't think it really needs it. And again, dry fitting. I try on this one. Come on, come back out. I aim for the top part, either this line here, or I try to get close to here. I think I need to take just a smidge off of that one. Just a smidge. It's just a little bit too tight. And it's really important, if you're ever doing this sort of thing where you're taking off just an absolutely, I mean, I probably should have used some sandpaper to do it, but sometimes I just can't be bothered. Yeah, now that fits. But it's a tick long on the one side. Good grief, what did I cut these with? My eyeballs were closed or something? Gotta take off about another millimeter. Yeah, I'm really so good at this by putting my hands like this so you can't see anything. And then this piece would go in here. Now with this, I'm going to use the water glue again. And you can see this. Yeah, you can see this. I'm just going to kind of aim right in here. Okay, and then the really nice thing is I can just draw a line of the glue, and like I can see what I'm doing, which is just absolutely fabulous. Okay, a little bit more glue there. And then this is the part that always drives me nuts though. Trying to get it so it looks straight. This doesn't technically have to be straight on the inside. It's a tiny bit wider here on the bottom, but I guess I'm not gonna have a heart attack about it. And again, making sure these can fold in. I've given myself quite a bit of room over here for the fold in, mostly because I'm weird. This one's still a little big. And I'm going to take about a millimeter off. The problem with doing it this way is I'm always in danger of like cutting too much off, and then I've got to like cut the whole piece all over again. And you can notice, yeah, I think I'm just going to fit it in this way. This one, for this one, I want to get it where my finger is through here. I want to make sure that it's closer to the bottom of the drawer, so when I glue it in, the drawer has something to rest on. This one here on the bottom, there's part of me that really just wants to come in with some, like, a piece of board and put it in there. I probably won't on this particular, this is a mock-up, so I'm not gonna like spend egregious amounts of time on that. I've been making notes. I've been using my little thing here, writing my notes in it to make sure that anything that I need to do in the real versions. Okay, let's get in here. This one, I have to say, is the hardest one to fit. It's still too big on the one side. I love showing all my mistakes. I do not want this to, because if it's protruding too far, then what that means is when I get in there, when I try to close the back and then glue it to the, there, down. Sorry, this thing just drives me nuts. Come on, you little stink pot. Get in there. There we go. Oh, that's not too bad. It's crooked. It's crooked. There, that's better. Sometimes with these I have to hold them a little bit. Boy, that's crooked. But all it's going to do is hold the shelf up. So this, at this point, I can let this dry for a little bit. And I also need to take off. The reason I left these about 1.5 centimeters is I'd rather have too much than not enough. So now I can go in and trim these back, like give them a really big paring back. And I'll probably trim them back even more at this point, because, you know, I'd rather have too much and just trim things off. So now I just need to make some decisions about, I think I'm going to glue the small one in. Yeah, I don't know. I think this needs to be skinnier. If that makes any sense. This drawer needs to be skinnier, but I think I'm going to go ahead and glue this one together and then leave doing the skinnier one in the next design. And when I say the next design, I mean drawing this in Inkscape, because I think for these two pieces, this dresser and the dressing table, this is pretty much it. I did go through and fix these drawers, so they do hang pretty well. They aren't perfect, but my drawers are pretty elementary. I mean, these are not hard drawers to make. These are pretty easy little folded box drawers. I mean, you can see the little tabs in there. These are not hard to make. So I think I'm done with this design, and then I can go on and start working on that one on the computer. And this is also giving me enough time to think about things that I'm doing for the children's stuff and make some decisions about where I want to put things and what I'm going to be trimming and moving around. That I can go ahead and start working on those as well, because I've got all my files ready. They're ready to go. I just need to get in and start fixing them. So yeah. So thank you, patrons, for continuing to stick with me and watch my videos and see what I'm coming up with. And I will see you in the next video.